Unit 14, Reconstruction. Lincoln's plan was to admit defeated Confederate states back into the United States as quickly as possible. However, he was assassinated shortly after the war ended. With his influence gone, radical Republicans in Congress wanted to punish the South for their role in starting the war and for their support of slavery. The 13th Amendment was passed to ban slavery everywhere in the United States. Congress also set up the Freedmen's Bureau to help ex-slaves find missing relatives, get an education, and find employment. Lincoln's replacement, President Johnson, was much easier on the South than other Republicans. He quickly readmitted ex-Confederate states to the Union. However, Congress refused to let their representatives sit and vote in Congress, as many of these representatives were ex-Confederate leaders. Furthermore, many Southern states had begun to pass laws taking rights and freedoms away from African Americans. Republicans passed the Civil Rights Act of 1864, which gave African Americans the same legal rights as other Americans. Johnson vetoed it. Congress then passed the 14th Amendment, which guaranteed every American equal treatment. Congress also gave the Freedmen's Bureau the power to use the Army to enforce the law. In 1867, Republicans in Congress now had enough votes to override Johnson's veto. They passed the Reconstruction Acts, which divided the former Confederate states into military districts under the control of the U.S. Army. Southern states would not be allowed to rejoin the Union until they passed laws supporting the 13th and 14th Amendments. Johnson's efforts to work against these acts led to his impeachment by Congress, although he survived by a single vote. In 1868, General Grant, the same dude who fought the war, was elected president. Congress then passed the 15th Amendment guaranteeing the right to vote. African Americans began to be elected to government positions in the South. Many Reconstruction governments passed laws supporting education and programs to rebuild the infrastructure, meaning roads, railways, buildings, of the South. These were opposed by wealthy Southerners who did not want to be taxed to pay for them, and who did not support African Americans voting or holding public office. Some Southerners created the Ku Klux Klan, a terrorist organization, which attacked African Americans or any whites who supported Reconstruction. In the mid-1870s, Reconstruction began to end as Northern Republicans began to focus more on the economy. After the election of 1876, the new president, Rutherford B. Hayes, promised to remove U.S. troops from the South in return for Southern support. As soon as the troops left, Southern Democrats began to pass laws reversing Reconstruction-era reforms and taking away rights from African Americans. These Democrats were known in the South as Redeemers. Redeemers introduced Jim Crow laws that segregated or separated the different races. African Americans were not allowed to use the same facilities as whites. They also passed laws that took away the vote. The Supreme Court made rulings that also supported segregation. They ruled that the Civil Rights Act of 1875 was unconstitutional, and also that segregation was legal, in one such case, Plessy versus Ferguson, so long as public facilities were equal. This is how they came up with separate but equal. In reality, public facilities for whites and blacks were never equal. Many African Americans in the South were forced to become sharecroppers, where they were forced to work on the land they had once worked as slaves. This was slavery in all but name.